The ancient city of New Delhi is today a modern metropolis and India's national capital. 50 kilometers to the southeast of central Delhi lies the new arena of Formula One racing, Bullock International Circuit, where India got its first taste of F1 action.
The possibility of F1 race coming to India has been in the works for about a decade. Ever since Formula One management started looking east, we knew that a race was coming to India. And we were very close to it before once, but somehow things didn't work out. There was also the possibility of having a street race in Delhi. But then the JP Group came up with the money and they signed a deal with FOM to construct a track, designed by one of the best architects of Formula One tracks.
Namaste from the Bullock International Circuit in India. Circuit length 5.14 kilometers, 60 laps clockwise, 308 kilometers race distance.
Apparently the Red Bull India guys wanted to push it to another limit and take it to an absolutely different level. So they're bringing the car to the highest motorable road in the world. And Red Bull Racing seemed to really like the idea.
So we were approached by Red Bull India quite a few months ago to do this challenge and to get the car up to 18,000 feet and running. It's obviously been quite a task because you have the human performance element of it, whereas we're trying to get people up there with a lack of oxygen to be working. Also the car, there's no oxygen for the engine, and also just logistically to get everything, the 5 tons of equipment and the car moved up to 18,000 feet is an enormous task.
The challenge is immense. These machines are not built for such conditions, and driving the world's highest road in Khardung will require serious preparation.
When the request came from India to run in the Himalayas, it was going, wow, that's different. But it was exactly the type of challenge that we enjoy here at Red Bull, and therefore we looked at the logistics of it, looked at what was involved, did a recce to see if the car could actually run there. We believe it can. I've been told it can run there, so therefore we decided, yeah, let's go for it. Let's see how it works, and I think it'll create some tremendous footage, and it'll be great to see a Formula One car in that environment.
So Red Bull Racing have done over 60 running show car events, and basically we've had Tom Cruise drive the car, we've been on a beach in Santo Domingo, we've been in Thailand where 200,000 people turned up to watch us, and so I guess the next level is going up to the highest road in the world and seeing if the car will work up there.
This record-breaking high-altitude drive will require a special kind of driver. Neil Jani of Switzerland, an experienced Red Bull pilot of half-Indian descent.
Doing those show car runs with Red Bull have taken me to many places, from South Africa to Lenau. We are everywhere very welcome, they have a warm welcome. It's just a unique experience because you just see how much variety there is in this world, and we can take this race car to all these places.
The Red Bull Formula One car has been to some of the world's most exotic locations and has been through some of the most extreme conditions, from frozen lakes in the Arctic to the sand beaches of tropical islands in the Caribbean. Now, Red Bull goes to the Himalayas for another incredible challenge. The Formula One car is a miracle of high-tech precision engineering. They go through a lot of testing and they take a lot of time to produce. Every piece of the F1 vehicle is painstakingly designed and created to suit the car's unique specifications, even right down to the paint. A team of dedicated engineers subject the vehicle to the most rigorous scrutiny, undertaking a series of complex adjustments to make sure that this finely tuned machine can safely handle speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. But this time, they also have to deal with the thin air at an altitude of 18,000 feet. Special preparation will be needed to get this magnificent machine running up there.
We were told by our managers we had to prepare a car to go up to 18,000 feet in the Himalayas. So that poses quite a few problems for us in respect of the fact that the engine wouldn't run very well at that altitude because of the lack of oxygen and air and everything else that goes with it.
We're expecting 50% less air at altitude. The engine is basically an air pump, sucks air in, pumps air out. So to overcome that, or help overcome it, we're removing this restrictor, which we run. It's a restricted V10 engine.
So it allows more air into the airbox, which obviously feeds the engine a bit more air. We're also going to use nitrogen in the air valve system instead of air because it contains less moisture.
More stable gas with a lot less condensation, moisture in it. Nitrogen is far better for us to use at altitude, and that's simply it, really.
We're also going to pressurise the fuel cell more than what we normally do, just hopefully give the engine a bit more power.
And basically that's it. At the factory we're developing some new maps, fuel, spark and throttle maps to get the air-fuel ratio correct. But when we get there it'll be a bit of guesswork, so hopefully it'll work, but that's really it. We are a little anxious about doing this at altitude because we have no idea whether it will work or not. We think it will work, we're pretty confident. I think it's all the mechanics that probably won't work at altitude because, like the engine, we need a lot of air. So we'll see how we get on.
The F1 car undergoes the necessary alterations to its air intake and fuel systems before it's ready to be packed up and shipped off.
When we transport a car, we have to remove the front wing, the rear wing, all the body support panels, the roll-up cameras, because they get damaged in freight. We replace those with bumpers, obviously to protect the car. We take off the running steering wheel and just put on a travel wheel because the steering wheel is so valuable that it could get damaged or misplaced.
The Red Bull racing team enjoys a challenge, and they will have their work cut out for them on this exciting new mission to go where no F1 car has gone before. With final preparations complete, the car begins its long trip to India and ultimately the highest motorable road in the world, the Khardung Pass in the Himalayas, to run an F1 car at the highest altitude possible and break the world record.
We've never had to do anything like this before, and as far as we're aware, nobody else has done it either, so it's a new thing for a Formula One car.
In an attempt to break the world record for the highest altitude F1 drive in history, Red Bull Racing Team have prepared their car for the extreme conditions that await them when they travel to the Himalayas in northern India on the mission to Khardung and the world's highest motorable road. With Formula One racing coming to India for the first time, Indian enthusiasm for the sport is growing, and the Red Bull Speed Street Showrun in Delhi kicks things off ahead of the Himalayan Challenge.
In fact, Formula One has been very popular in India. It's just that, people have never had a chance to see the race for themselves. And now they will get that opportunity. So a lot of us are really looking forward to it.
Over 70,000 fans showed up at the India Gate, many of them to see the awesome power and speed of an F1 car live for the first time in their lives.
So we're really excited to be here today. We're in India, in Delhi, doing the show run. We're here now at the circuit. We're going to be running the car, and then tomorrow we're going to be packing up all this that you can see behind me, and then going up to the Himalayas.
It's the same street where a racing car is going to be there, and it's the same street where even a common man's cab, auto, rickshaw, whatever you call it, is there. So this is an amalgamation of two giant forces, India and the races. Let's have fun.
There is nothing quite like the awesome power and sound of an F1 car. For those hearing this for the first time, the experience can be breathtaking and one they won't forget in a hurry.
Today, Delhi gets a taste of what F1 is all about thanks to Red Bull, and the madness, the crazy sound of the engine is unbelievable. When he was doing donuts all around and there was smoke, people have finally seen what F1 is all about. We've only seen it on television. It is a grand sport. There is cricket in this country, but Grand Prix is going to be up there very soon.
Three trucks will transport the car and 5 tons of Formula One equipment up the long and grueling 3-day journey from Delhi to Leh in Ladakh province of the state of Jammu and Kashmir in northern India, while the team fly out beforehand to acclimatize and settle in ahead of the big day. The Red Bull racing team fly up to Leh and await the arrival of the trucks that will reunite them with their car and equipment.
We've just arrived in Ladakh from Delhi. We're now going to spend a couple of days acclimatising to this altitude because we're very high up now. The car will take a further 3 days to get here by truck. So hopefully we'll get checked in now and get out there and relax.
The Red Bull racing team's mission to drive the highest road in the world with an F1 car was underway. The team arrived in India and put on a speed street show run in Delhi that took the crowd's breath away. From here, they are off to Leh on the mission to Khardung La Pass and the world's highest motorable road, where the team will attempt to set a world record. The capital of the former kingdom of Ladakh, Leh, is famous for its breathtaking beauty scenic splendor, and ancient Buddhist heritage.
It's definitely a special experience as a half Indian to do such a special show run in India, up in the famous Kashmir region. I'm very happy I can be here and do that for Red Bull.
The town of Leh lies at an altitude of nearly 12,000 feet and has around 30,000 inhabitants, of whom nearly 80% are Buddhists. Although the mixed and cosmopolitan population reflects centuries of Buddhist, Hindu, and Muslim cultural influence, which have coexisted in undisturbed harmony for nearly 1,400 years.
Yeah, one of the first things after I arrived was took a little walk through the village to just get to know, see where I really am, and saw all those little shops, so you can see that you're actually in the Himalaya. But also how they sell the fruits on the streets. Then you got the donkeys, the cows on the streets. It's really interesting. It's very different to what we're used to, obviously.
Leh has a strong and ancient Buddhist legacy and continues to house some magnificent Buddhist palaces, monuments, and stupas, which are holy places containing Buddhist relics. The most impressive structure is the 9-story Leh Palace, which dates from the 17th century.
Leh, obviously, I checked a bit on the internet now, what it looks around like. I think the internet can't describe it better. I think when you're here, you just think it's amazing.
Religion plays a major role in people's lives in Leh, and Buddhism is a way of life. Prayer wheels are spun to spread spiritual blessings and have an important place in the Buddhist faith. The town is home to a number of monasteries of both the Mahayana and Theravada sects of Buddhism, as monks live a life of peace, meditation, and solitude atop the rocky hills.
About concentration and inner peace, and this is a very important thing in racing, I think generally in life. So for me it will be definitely something I'd like to experience in real ones. I've never been to a monastery. Maybe I can even have a chat to one of the monks about it, even though I think silence is a bigger thing in monasteries. So we'll see. It will be for sure a big experience for me.
Known for its resemblance to the Potala Palace in Lhasa, Thiksey Monastery is the Tibetan Buddhist monastery located approximately 19 kilometers east of Leh, and it is the largest gompa, or monastery school, in central Ladakh. Neil will visit Thiksey to meet with monks and experience firsthand the day-to-day life in a Buddhist monastery.
a very interesting talk, very interesting experience about meditation, concentration, inner peace. And basically, to summarize everything, it's if you're happy, you can really focus and concentrate onto the one thing you do and to get maximum performance out of it. And you know, there's a lot of parallels to motorsports or Formula One between the prayers they do and between their meditation and to what we do before a start or during a qualifying lap when you need to hit that one lap.
Despite its great beauty, Leh poses a serious health problem to outsiders with its high altitude, which means visitors must undergo a rigorous medical checkup beforehand.
After their arrival here, they should have complete rest for the next 24 hours because there is no substitute for natural acclimatization. They should not indulge in high-risk behaviors like unnecessarily indulging into exercise or like drinking alcohol or smoking tobacco. These things should be avoided, and he or she should have a complete rest for the next 24 hours. Then he is helping his body to acclimatize in a better way.
Well, acclimatization over here has been not the easiest on the first day here, but so far so good, because in Switzerland I went to that altitude of 12,000 feet to get a bit used to it.
I'm sure that if they are, participating in this Red Bull racing, they must have done these pre-acclimatizing things and watch for the symptoms. If they have no symptoms, they can proceed ahead with the Red Bull racing further.
Prior to their trip, members of the Red Bull racing team were checked for their lung capacity and fitness.
Okay. I'll just go through this with you. Right. So what we've done is put your age, your gender and your height in.
Yeah.
So what the machine does, it measures what you should be doing, so
Yeah.
it predicts, and then it measures what you've actually done. Your lungs are expanding and contracting and doing what they're meant to. And you've done really well with that one. We predicted 558, and you actually done 567, so 102%.
Yeah.
So it's an absolutely normal lung function test, nothing to worry about. You're fit to go.
The team's arrival in Leh was incident-free as everyone acclimatized to the extreme conditions, and things looked to be on course as they eagerly anticipated the arrival of the trucks. But the trucks have yet to arrive from their 3-day journey with the car and equipment. The Red Bull racing team arrived in stunning Leh in the Ladakh province of the state of Jammu and Kashmir in northern India. As they got acclimatized to the altitude, they waited for their F1 car to arrive. The anticipation and excitement was building on the mission to Khardung Pass and the world's highest motorable road. After a tough 3-day trip, the trucks finally arrive in Leh. But the Red Bull team was in for a nasty surprise. The car lay under a thick coat of dust, potentially a very serious danger to the machine.
It's got a bit dusty. A bit dusty on the way here, but... Hang on, go. Nice and slowly, yeah? So the car's arrived from Delhi and it's picked up a fair bit of dust on the way. It left Delhi polished and clean, and now look at it. It's quite serious.
As the team quickly set to work, trying desperately to remove the dust from every inch of the F1 vehicle, another problem loomed. With no forklift, the trucks could not be unloaded.
Just trying to get the boxes off the trucks. We were hoping for a forklift, but that hasn't turned up, and then we were promised cranes, but unfortunately a tow truck turned up, and now this is the crane. But the problem is to get the boom into the actual truck, proving slightly difficult, but we'll see how we do.
The clock was ticking, and time was running out. A solution was needed fast.
Polishing the car because we can't get the kit off the truck.
And the answer to the problem was soon found.
Well, can't we take this truck to the airport, fork everything off, get off what we want?
Found a forklift.
But it's at the airport.
But it's at the airport.
So we're going down the airport.
It's coming, is it?
No, they won't bring it up here. We've got to go down the airport and run the truck down there.
Word got out that there was a forklift at the airport. The team would have to take the trucks there and then bring the equipment back up to the hotel. With the trucks finally unloaded by noon, preparations could commence. The biggest question, of course, was how well the car would work at this altitude, and indeed, whether it would work at all.
Okay, after our show car run that we did in Delhi last weekend, through the streets of Delhi in front of thousands of fans, had a great time there. The car has been unloaded, we're just preparing it for our runs we're doing around the city of Leh and up the mountain over the weekend. Both I and the team are really excited about doing a run on the highest road in the world. So hopefully with no problems, we'll get going on that on Sunday.
Pilot Neil is all keyed up for the upcoming challenge, and he gets personally involved as he oversees preparations. Before the engineers can start preparing the car for the run, they must ensure that the engine has enough oxygen at this altitude. So, they decided to start up the car, known in Formula One terms as a fire-up. But they're in for a shock. The car is not working.
So at the moment we're just having a few problems with basically the engine. It's obviously 11,500 feet up here, so we've never experienced this before. So we're changing the data sets. We think we may have a fuel issue because obviously we can't get race fuel in India, so we're trying to use pump fuel, which is 97 octane, and it's not ideal, but we're just trying to work out what the problem is, and hopefully we'll have it up and running. Obviously lights going at the moment, and we need to be running very early tomorrow morning, so getting a bit nervous.
"6 p.m. and they're trying everything, but to no avail. Time is running out. Things are not looking good. The team triple-check every little detail, but still, frustration. The amount of planning, time and resources it has taken to get this far means that failure is not an option. Still unable to get the car working, the pressure mounts, anguish begins to show, and faces are despondent as work continues into the cold night. 8 p.m. The team continues to work as the temperature plummets.
We can't get it running, it's really frustrating, especially for me because I can't really help on them. And I think there's a problem with fuel. The boys are doing all they can, they're working really hard on it. It will be a long night as it looks like.
Hours have gone by and things are looking grim. But just as it was beginning to look like a total disaster, the engine starts. The team has done it. The hard work pays off at last, and the team breathes a collective sigh of relief.
It made some changes to the fueling mixture, which seems to have cured the problem. We just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything else to do with the altitude we're running at, but no, it seems to be a lot better now anyway.
After a hellish ordeal on the first day, the car is finally ready for tomorrow's challenge and the Khardung La Pass. In their mission to drive a Formula One car on the world's highest motorable road in the Himalayas, Red Bull Racing Team spent weeks preparing their vehicle for the upcoming challenge. With all the necessary technical adjustments completed, the car was finally ready to be shipped to India for what would be a record-breaking feat. The first stop was Delhi, where the Red Bull Racing Team put on a stunning speed street showdown in front of thousands of spectators. The car then went on a 3-day journey to Leh in Jammu and Kashmir province. But problems arose. First, the dust, then unloading the equipment, and finally, the task of firing up the engine. But in the end, it all worked out, and they were ready for the final push of this record-breaking mission. After weeks of hard work and preparation, the day has finally arrived.
I've been to a lot of high passes leading into Leh, and the roads are narrow. You never know when the wind is going to change, and you never know how cold it's going to be.
Last-minute preparations are undertaken to make sure there are no mishaps and no glitches. Everyone's nervous about how it will go, and the moment of truth is upon them. With just minutes before the run, a surprise visitor shows up.
I'm the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, the northernmost state of India. It's an incredible privilege for us to host the Red Bull team as they attempt to get their Formula One car to the top of Khardung, the highest motorable road in the world, crossing 18,500 feet.
So basically here you shift up, shift down, that's the clutch. You got a second one just in case, because when you turn this way, it's easier here than here. You see the gear. Here you will see speed, RPM, and here...
A big motorsports fan, Omar Abdullah relishes the chance to meet the team and has the honor of starting the run.
So I've just made it. I just passed the 15,500 feet marker and hit some snow here on the way. It was a bit hard, so I'm stuck now, just waiting for the support team. We have to change tires. Maybe I can still make it up. If not, we'll just load it up and we'll make the rest there, but we definitely want to get up there.
Unfortunately, Neil's had to stop because the road conditions got very bad now. We're determined to make it to the top, so we're going to put some wets on, load it onto the truck and make it to the top of that mountain there.
The car was loaded on and taken up the road, but extreme cold weather forced them to halt once again, so as to keep the engine warm.
We're at 16,000 feet. We've had to stop here to try and warm the engine up because we're not sure the generators are going to work at 18,500 feet, which is where the pass is that we're going to run on today. So we've just stopped, warmed everything up, make sure all the systems work, and now we're going to quickly get up there before everything cools down.
Nice and cold up here, huh? It actually gets cold with the wind.
So it's taken them 1.5 hours to start the car. It's been snowing, that was not expected. So the pass gets all the more interesting. Let's see how well the car runs up there now.
The lack of oxygen, extreme terrain, and uneven roads are why no one has ever dared to run an F1 car at this world's highest motorable road. At 18,300 feet, the Khardung La Pass is one of the most hostile roads in the world. Hardly the place for a Formula One car.
Here we are, finally, at 18,380 feet along the Khardung La Pass, which is the highest drivable road in the world.
The car finally made it to Khardung La Pass. Now the last preparation is made before the world record for the highest altitude F1 run can be set. And the team waits in anticipation to see Neil come around the bend.
Hey.
And the world record is set. What an accomplishment for the Red Bull racing team. The highest altitude F1 run ever. History has been made.
So we've made it up here to Khardung La in Ladakh, the highest motorable road in the world. And we're the first team, Red Bull Racing, up here on this road. It's been a hard way up, it's been a long way, but we've made it. Everyone has done a great job and helped me to get up here to be the first racing driver in the Formula One car up here.
On the day Red Bull Racing reached the highest motorable road in the world, Sebastian Vettel was crowned the youngest two-time world champion in the history of Formula One, giving new meaning to the phrase, top of the world.
I'm very happy to have actually produced the record of having driven an F1 car on the highest road of the world together with Red Bull. And yeah, I think that will stand for a while because somebody needs to build a new road somewhere higher so that that record can get broken.